Good afternoon. In this presentation, I will discuss the following scenario. A faculty member who's been working at the college for 2 years has contacted me wanting to talk about how they could revise their course. Here is the agenda for the next 10 minutes. I will review the calendar description for the course, discuss how I would approach the request, describe some of the supports I could offer. I'll talk about how I may approach the assessment in this course, and then at the conclusion I'll show you the total flow of the process. Here is the course calendar description for a course called Pattern Design 2. This is the course that the instructor wants to revise with me. Students practice the basic principles of pattern design for women's wear, particularly as they relate to the upper torso. Both flat pattern and draping methods are used as students interpret fashion drawings to create patterns for upper torso garments based on a standard size. Students solve fit challenges and further develop their drafting skills while creating upper torso sloppers for individual body measurements. The first step would be to communicate with the Chair's, Dean's, Associate Dean's office to confirm the revision request. And before initiating any meetings or consultations, I would do some research as well. I would spend some time on the curriculum management system. I would look at the learning outcomes of the course and how it fits in with the entire program. I would look at the content updates and previous revisions of the course. Other things I would consider: the format of the course, whether it's blended or online, and how many hours is it, or the credits for the course. When were the learning outcomes last updated? What's the assessment strategy? And for the assessment strategy, I could actually go on to the learning management system and look at that as well, for example, onto Moodle. And also, although not typically on the curriculum management system, I would find out who are the industry partners for the course and where the students complete their work integrated learning. So let's say we have been given approval to do this revision. First, I would start with a kick-off meeting in which I would invite all stakeholders. I actually have a kick-off meeting document, a template, that I use for this. Essentially, it's a set of questions. So for example, one of the questions is, how do we want to work together on this project? Do we want to set up a series of development meetings? Should we set up a Google Share space or a Google app for this? Do we want to work with project management tools and assign tasks to one another to track the revision? And also, what are the timelines and the deadlines for this revision? I would also clarify my scope for the revision. So for example, I would make it clear that I would not be responsible for creating new course content, as I'm not the subject matter expert. Some of the other questions I might ask in our meeting would be, what is or what is not working in this course and why revise it? What feedback has been received from students? Does the instructor think that the learning objectives need to be revised, and are they still aligned with industry needs? The instructor may have some ideas for incorporating some new technologies or teaching methods. Possibly there is some work that needs to be done on the learning management system, and that needs to be discussed as well. I may suggest some collaboration with other members of the faculty for this revision. So after the initial kick-off meeting, let's say a few days after, as a support tool, I would introduce the course planning worksheet, and there's an example on the screen there. This helps us formulate the revision plan, and I'll talk about the revision plan in a minute. However, the course planning worksheet is a good tool for course development and revisions because it provides a structural framework for building a course for both online and in-person courses. As an instructional designer, I coach the instructor or the subject matter expert how to fill out this form. I also have other helpful course development templates and resources I use, which I can show you after the presentation. The course planning worksheet also ensures quality standards are adhered to and accessibility guidelines are met during the development or revision process. After filling out the course planning worksheet, the instructor, ID, subject matter expert, and myself would develop a revision plan, kind of like a proposal of the changes and the rationale for making these changes. And the idea of the revision plan is so that the plan could be shared with chairs and other stakeholders before any changes actually take place. The instructor may have their own ideas for the revision, and while working on the course planning worksheet and during our meetings, other perspectives or insights could emerge. For example, some common insights I have encountered while doing revisions, and this is actually another opportunity for my department to offer more support to the faculty. One of them, if you see on the screen there, you'll see curriculum drift. So this means that over time, different instructors may have introduced content that doesn't align with the learning outcomes. Hence, this needs to be corrected during revisions. The other one there is industry standards. I often work with instructors to make sure that the course stays current with industry trends and standards. And this often means updating content, learning activities, assessments, and rubrics. Integrating feedback. I work with instructors to integrate feedback as well. Feedback's been from stakeholders or student surveys. As a result, we have adjusted the flow and timing of a course, for example. This is a great time to improve content accessibility for students with disabilities. It might mean an alternative assessment format, for example, offering more than one way to submit assignments. Revision is also a good time to revisit how the course is taught. In this scenario, I could offer supports such as support with exploring other pedagogical approaches. For example, in the pattern design course that we're talking about now, it could be inquiry-based learning or problem-based learning or team-based learning. I could also offer support in developing hands-on projects, having those assignments that tackle real-world problems. For example, in this course, a weekly, what they call fitting challenge. I could also offer help in setting up regular one-on-one meetings with students, which allow for more personalized feedback and support for students when they're working on their design projects. I could assist with making connections, possibly connecting through the Work Integrated Learning Office. So we could invite industry guests, guest speakers, I should say, from the fashion industry. And also I could help with developing lesson plans for specifically maybe for field trips to industry partners' workplaces, so field trips remain meaningful. Portfolios are another great tool, and this is so that students could show potential future employers their work and possibly incorporate these into assessments. And last, case studies. Include case studies and examples that are aligned with the JEDI principles or the EDI principles. For example, having Indigenous fashion designers as part of the case studies, and incorporate case studies that include ethical and fair trade practices. Here's an example of how an assessment strategy may be changed during a revision. Changed so it's aligned with the applied learning approach and the academic plan of growing careers, the overall TLCI mission and vision. So for example, the pattern design course, I would suggest to have the design challenges And the course outline states those fit challenges leading up to a final capstone project. I like the idea of incremental grading, where smaller grades are assigned to initial assessments. So you can see there the first two are only 10%, and then gradually building up to a larger grade for the final assessment, which is the capstone challenge at 30%. This approach aligns with the concept of incremental learning, constructivism, and avoids high stakes assessments, which is a big source of stress for students. It also allows for ongoing regular formative feedback, such as group feedback, peer feedback, as well as instructor feedback. And by taking this approach, students can immediately correct any errors rather than struggle through a course. This is also a good way to have a positive learning environment. In conclusion, in this presentation, I've taken you through my rapid course review process, which can be customized depending on the situation and how the instructor or subject matter expert likes to work. In the pattern design scenario that we've been talking about, I've shown you what I would suggest, and I've also made some assumptions as well. In the initial course review phase, I would analyze the course strengths and weaknesses, consider any feedback that has been submitted about the course, and also interview the instructor. During the revision planning phase, I would support the use of a course planning worksheet while encouraging a collaborative approach with other instructors or other subject matter experts within the school. I like the idea of having a support subject matter expert during development or revision because of the opportunity to have those cross-pollination of ideas, an extra set of eyes. The revision is an opportunity to revisit the learning objectives and explore the potential to introduce new teaching methods and other new teaching tools and technologies. Present the revision. In this phase, we are sharing our proposed changes with the stakeholders and gathering feedback. Coordinate the revision. For example, it may involve delegating some tasks within the teaching and learning team. And lastly, a phase that often gets missed is the follow-up phase, where you can make adjustments if required. And these adjustments are based on student outcomes and other feedback. Thank you for your time today, and take care. Bye.